Cubs salvaged the series in Milwaukee. And also, as of recording, we are under 24 hours to the MLB trade deadline, and it is quiet. Some would even say too quiet. Let's ride, Setup Nation. Let's get into it. Welcome in to the trade deadline eve edition of the Setup Man podcast. Beside me, as always, is my trusty partner in crime, Tyler at Setup Man Ty on X. You can find me, Alex, at AJ Brault on X. And make sure, before we get into all the Cub stuff, do us a favor at home. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and the little bell. So anytime we do some cool stuff, and trust me, you're going to want to hit that bell with what we got coming in the next 24 hours. So do us a favor on that on YouTube. And then if you're listening audio only, like, subscribe, and please, please, please leave us a 5-star review. Programming reminder, tomorrow at 4 o'clock Central, myself, Kyle, and producer Brian will be doing a live trade deadline reaction for the last hour up until the trade deadline. So make sure you join us for that. And then Ty and I will have another episode that we will record and release into the world later in the day. All right. Before we get into the Cubs stuff, we have not had a chance to do this, and I know some of you might not want to do this all over again, and that's fine. Skip ahead a couple minutes. That's fine. But on Monday, it was reported that Cubs Hall of Famer legend Ryne Sandberg had passed away after struggling with cancer for the last couple of years. I was heartbroken, Ty. A very quick story. He was the first big leaguer I ever met. He was at this point managing the Peoria Chiefs, the single A. I think now they're the South Bend Cubs. But anyway, this was when he was starting managing, and my dad was all excited. He's like, oh, let's go. Let's see if he'll sign some stuff. And when I tell you that in little tiny Appleton, Wisconsin, where the Timber Rattlers play, there was a line of Cub fans from the dugout where he was signing, which of course he signed right on the field because he's a Hall of Famer, all the way up through the concourse. And I mean, there's an hour to game time. He took pictures with people. He signed everything. I have that ball still down in my basement in my Cub cave. It's just, he was the absolute best, and he was such a nice guy. My dad was like shaking, took a picture with the guy. So just another example of not only was he a Hall of Fame player, but just a Hall of Fame person. So anything you want to mention, Ty, about the great Ryne Sandberg?
Well, we got his number up here.
Yes,
at the top to honor him. We're going to have this on our screen here for the next couple of episodes. Heck, we might have it on for the rest of the year. We'll see. But, just for me, obviously I didn't grow up watching Ryne Sandberg, but when my father really took me under his arms and said, hey, we're Cubs fans around here. I got to learn about, the greats of the game that got to play at Wrigley Field, from Ryne Sandberg to Billy Williams, to Sutcliffe to Fergie Jenkins. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But when I learned about Ryne Sandberg, the one thing my dad said was he plays the game the right way, and he plays it with the utmost respect, and the nicest guy you'll ever meet. And my eyes opened up when the amount of outpouring of love and support, for Rhino, from Cubs fans, to all the wonderful tribute videos that, were posted, that really just told such an unbelievable story about a guy who was an unbelievable player, but even a better person, which is remarkable. So what a career. I mean, just insane stats for a player. But again, the hard part in all of this, and I'm glad the statue is up. I'm glad that he was able to be there for that statue being, being presented. I'm thinking of his family right now. I mean, I couldn't imagine just what they're going through, and to the Cub fans that really got to watch him play and were just so moved by him as a person and player. So, rest in peace, Rhino. This is never fun talking about these, players and legends of the game passing away, because you want them to live on forever, but legends never die. And I wish nothing but, thoughts and prayers, like I said, to his family, and rest easy, my friend.
Well said. And I liked what you pointed out. He really was. I know for me as a middle schooler, when I first like met him and learned about him, he was a gateway for me into Cubs history. Because at that point, this was 2007, 2008. I mean, this is like peak Alfonso Soriano, Derek Lee, Aramis Ramirez, like all those guys. Those are my dudes. Ryan Terrio, which in one of the pictures that my mom took, you can see a Terrio jersey in the background. Just epic. It's just so, but he was the gateway for a lot of fans like myself and you, like into Cubs history. So I just a one of a kind person. So not really an easy transition into actual Cubs stuff now, but let's try. Cubs lost 2 of 3 in Milwaukee. They are now a game back of first place after being tied when the series started. Ty, just an interesting little nugget that I found. I was curious. It really feels, especially the last 2 years, like Milwaukee has taken the Cubs lunch money. It's just like, let's see what Craig Counsell's record against Milwaukee since he's been a Chicago Cub. He's 9-12. It's not great. Just an interesting nugget because you can really tell Milwaukee loves beating him. And Pat Murphy, he's got an edge. Even today, I don't know how much of the game you were able to see through work today, but there was a point today where I just was applauding Pat Murphy. They're down 5 or 6 late. He's letting guys face the minimum. He's pulling. He's tinkering. He's trying to do everything he can. It was just like Pat Murphy is still trying to just rip the hearts out of the Cubs right now. Just an interesting observation. I don't know if you had any not stat-filled observations from this series. That was my one. I was just like, oh, okay. I see you, Pat. All right.
Yeah, the environment the last 3 days, especially game one, just the tension that you could feel. I mean, the buildup was unbelievable. And yeah, it felt like the entire series that certain moves were being made to try to win the series based on how important it was, right? So I definitely saw that, Alex, to answer your question. What I will say about all of this was thank God you guys, they pulled out one. Because this game 3 was not the game that I thought that they were going to be able to win, if I'm being truthfully honest. And that's based totally on, how well Freddie Peralta has done against the Cubs in his tenure with the Brewers. And I don't know if I can kind of go into sort of like my takeaways on sort of this series and everything, Alex.
Floor's yours. Have at it.
I'll start with this. The way I look at both teams right now. So I want to start with just where both teams sit, and then I'll talk about some individual performances. First off, I will say this. Milwaukee looks like a completely different ball club than when we played them about a month ago and then a month before that.
Absolutely.
It feels different. And I know the Andrew Vaughn effect has been truly remarkable, what he's done. And that also shows you just when really, really talented players leave bad ball clubs, there's a really good chance that they're going to be successful because naturally, you could start to lose your competitive edge and wanting to be great. You get it back right as you're going into playoff baseball, right? So that's one. But looking at this right now, looking at both ball clubs, the Brewers are a better team based on the teams right now as we stand right before the trade deadline, of course, ends. So, the Cubs really do need to make some moves, of course. We'll talk about those moves in a little bit. So my takeaway is that thankfully you took one of them. So now you are tied in the series. Now you got 5 games coming up. If you win 3 out of the 5, you have the season series. Now, is this team going to win a division over the Brewers? That's the question because they have the tiebreaker, but I don't see the Brewers slowing down. So it's almost like, is there a point in looking at that at this moment? It's important if the Cubs make the right moves at the deadline. So that's just the series outlook and what it looked like, okay? Looking at the individual performances, right, Alex? So if we're looking at game 1, Matthew Boyd unfortunately picked the wrong time of the year to have his worst performance.
Following Shota struggling against the White Sox.
And it was rough sledding. I thought that we had that chance. I thought when in that first inning when Mizrowski got to 40 pitches, if Nico got a hit in that inning there, maybe Miz is out. And credit to that kid for pulling it together because he was tremendous for the rest of the game. And then ultimately the Brewers were the Brewers the first 2 games. It was slapping the ball around. It felt like they were just seeing pitches so well.
Yeah.
if they were seeing out of Boyd and Colin Ray's hand both games. Like it just was like, oh, like you sat there going, I never felt confident at all in both of those games after just seeing how difficult of at bats those Brewers put together. Nico Horner, like at bats, 1-9. Like that's insanity. And yeah, they may not have slug, but then Andrew Vaughn hits a grand slam. So it's like all these things where you're going, this is all frustrating. Now, Alex, I know I'm long-winded here, so I'll try to keep this short.
Have at it. This is an important series. We have to talk about it.
So you look at those first two games. I mean, it was the world was falling apart, and I want to give a credit to Shota Imanaga. I know he wasn't technically at his best today, but again, he found a way to keep them 3 runs or below, I believe it was, and allowed the Cubs to have a chance. Last thing I'll bring up here, because I know you'll probably have some other points as well, is that Kyle Tucker coming through today was tremendous. And that was if I'm talking about biggest things to take away from this series, he was awful in those first 2 games, and it was great to see him get it going because he's actually had a hell of a season against the Brewers. 407, 556, 630, 1,186 OPS against the Brewers this season. The first 2 games would have not at all made me think that those numbers were even there. I mean, he has 8 runs, 5 RBIs, 9 walks to 3 strikeouts, 1 home run and 3 doubles. So he's had a great season against the Brewers. We needed those hits from today mixed in a little bit in games 1 and 2, right? Last thing I'll say, Moises Ballesteros, talk about coming up and being clutch in a situation that we really, really needed it. A credit to the guy for literally coming here on 3 hours of sleep, reportedly what he said. So coming in and I tell you what, little moments, right? I mean, things can turn around. I know it wasn't really positive. There's not really a lot of positivity right now based on just how much they got their behinds kicked in those first 2 games, Alex. But I feel as if right now, a little momentum going into the trade deadline and, of course, the upcoming series. So I know it was a little long-winded. I really wanted to get all my thoughts out as soon as I could, just with all the details of this series. There were so many storylines and so many things to pick up. But I will just say, hopefully Kyle Tucker gets it going. Michael Busch leading off with a home run, needing to get him going as well. PCA had a nice day and getting reinforcements to come in. And from there, today into tomorrow are just so big, dude. So again, I'll pass it over to you, man. I'm sorry for talking so long. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot to unpack.
It is a lot to unpack. This was one of the rare times where I wish we did game by game breakdown, because after today, okay, you're down 1 game in the standings. You're probably getting reinforcements tomorrow, and your guys are getting healthier. Assad's getting healthier and pitching in AAA. Tyone just pitched some live BP the other day, and he felt good. Amaya's already playing at AAA. So you have guys on the way. But I texted you after yesterday, like, what is this? With a few other 4-letter words in there. They did not look up to the moment. It was just insane. But what's the old John Lester quote? Sometimes you have to get your bleep knocked in the dirt. It felt like that. Like, oh, they were just getting hammered Monday, hammered on Tuesday, and they didn't even play good on Tuesday. PCA dropped a fly ball. Matt Shaw, granted a tough play, was trying to make a play, throws the ball 50 miles in the air over Bush's head. Did I say PCA dropped one? Nico drops an easy one, trying to turn 2, and he just took his eyes off it. It was just like, what? Guys, this is arguably, well, actually not arguably, this was your biggest series of the season to date. And that's what we're going to do? They didn't show up for the moment at all. But then today they put up 10 against a guy who's given them fits throughout his career, and Freddie Peralta. They put up 10, and it's like, oh, okay. Maybe they did have to get their bleep knocked in the dirt just to refocus and like, all right, guys, take a breath. That was rock bottom. Can only go up from here. And actually, as we hit the record button, I saw Patrick Mooney had a headline that was a quote from I don't know from who. I didn't get to see it before we recorded, but basically the players are excited. Like, we've done our job. Jed's going to go get us help. Cool. Like, the mentality is there. We know the talent is there, but you already alluded to it. The Brewers right now, to me, are the best team in baseball. And that absolutely kills me to say. But look, Ty, you're a Bears fan. I want to just try and put it into football terms. Like, don't give me that look. No, but for real, tell me this. Does this feel like the Packer Bear thing a little bit, where for a long time the Packers just kind of own the Bears, but then last year the Bears kind of own the Packers? Like, doesn't it feel like? Do you see where I'm going with this, or am I just rambling?
You're a Packer fan, and you're being very generous right now.
No,
You are being very, very nice. Look, yes, we beat you guys last year, but
should be this twice.
it was against the second stringers. I get what you're saying. Okay, so all jokes aside,
Yeah.
I thought you were kind of giving me a little backs up. It's like a backhanded compliment, but
No,
you're from, but you're being, but you're nice. So it's like a little just like tap, like, hey, like, just like, it's kind of the same thing. It's not, but I appreciate you.
Let me just clarify.
Kinder than some other Packer fans.
Let me just clarify. You felt last year in football terms, you kind of felt that shift, like, oh, the Bears are coming. The Chicago team is coming. I was kind of looking for that in this series, and yet it still feels like the Brewers are on top. Does that make a little more sense? I think that's
I can't. I'm sorry, man. I don't enjoy watching my football team, so this is a little hard for me to talk about.
Sorry, I want comparison, and I probably should.
You're going to get comment below your thoughts on the Bears and Packers rivalry. Also, throw us a like too. Hopefully everyone's been enjoying the episodes lately. We've been trying to do a good job, and Alex really does a great job, and I just try to tag along and have a great time. So please throw us a like if you're listening to the video right now, and throw us a like if you're a Bears or Packers fan, because that's probably majority of people listening to this. But yeah, no, I think overall, man, look, I want to see the pieces they add, but now that 5-game stretch in Chicago against Milwaukee, I mean, the Cubs have been fantastic at home this year, 33-19. Milwaukee's 36-20. They've been absolutely great at home as well. On the road, Milwaukee's 28-24. So, we'll see how they manage and how they even look after the trade deadline, because they've been rumored to get a lot of guys. I think to answer your question, yes, I think the Cubs are trying to get to that Milwaukee level. It's just we're still a few steps away. I mean, from bullpen to base running to hitting, and the only thing we really have over them is slug. And this series in the first 2 games was not even that. So
no, and really, I mean, Bush went deep today. Ian Happ went deep in garbage time, but other than that, it's not like they hit a lot of homers today either, and they still put up 10, which actually made me feel better because they've been so home run dependent for the last really month and a half. But it has worked. I mean, they're still scoring a ton of runs. But this game in particular today was like, oh, okay. Reinforcements on the way. And you put up 10 only hitting 2 home runs. It was a lot of doubles. It was PCA taking the extra base twice. It was just more little things. Kyle Tucker on base 4 times today. God bless, because his July batting average, I was looking up some of these for our quote-unquote stars. Kyle Tucker this month, in the month of July, coming into today, was hitting 200 flat. Like,
it was bad.
And I know David Kaplan was getting some flack on Twitter for saying, I wouldn't pay that guy for – that's not what he was saying. He was saying a guy that's hitting 200 for a month probably shouldn't be getting paid that much. Anyway, not the point. But Ian Happ, his July batting average, $171. Dansby Swanson, I know a lot of people give him a lot of crap, and I should basically have like my own soundboard anytime I defend Dansby, like Dansby defender. But in July, he's batting .261, which is on the top end of what that's top end of what the Cubs hitters are doing. It's of course, he has a great at bat, 10 pitches, and then whiffs at a ball in Marinette County, and everyone looks around like, what was that? But up until then, that at bat was great. It just end the situation, of course, with 2 guys on. He doesn't come through. This guy sucks. Like, I knew immediately, stay off Twitter for the next 10 minutes.
Oh God, it's been
what a poison well. Jed really needs to make a trade because the Cubs Twitter has been just awful lately. But not you, Setup Nation. Like and subscribe. But the other thing I found interesting for today, before we get into the other news and notes of the day, Craig Counsell in a blowout today used the 3 best relievers that we currently have on the roster. Brad Keller, which he went 2, which I was surprised by, even though the first inning he was pretty efficient. Thielbar and Palencia all pitched in a blowout. And I've tried to figure out, okay, well, when's the last time they pitched? Keller, last time he pitched 7:26. So that's Saturday. Okay. Maybe get him some work. I understand that. But Thielbar pitched Sunday. Palencia pitched Sunday. It's only 2 games. So I was a little surprised by that. Did you think anything of it, or is that just me overthinking?
I mean, look, the problem is right now is that Pomeranz, Presley, I know Hollowell just came up.
Kind of like him. Kind of like Hollowell.
Yeah, I know you kind of like Hollowell, but I felt like, but here's the thing, right? And this goes back to like he made that move in game 1 where he switched out. I'm blanking on who it was, but it felt a little bit like almost like urgency that you normally wouldn't expect from Craig this season. If I'm being honest with you, he's made urgent moves. They made urgent moves as an organization to get rid of players and those sorts of things. That's not what I'm saying. Like pulling guys in moments that maybe he wouldn't necessarily do. You could just tell that Craig probably knew how important this game was. And I think it just goes back to the fact of he probably thinks that, hey, we're going to get the players that we need in order to be ready at the deadline, be ready to go after the deadline. And we're going to have a great team in that series. That 5-gamer against Milwaukee is going to be so critical. And I don't want to win 4 out of 5. That's going to be really difficult. I'd rather try to win 3 out of 5. It's going to be easier to do that. So that's why I personally I think that he went that route.
Yeah. And
he didn't use them really the last 2 days unless
last time Palencia and Thielbar pitched was Sunday and Keller was Saturday. So
exactly. It's hard and they got an off day tomorrow. It just doesn't make any sense to keep holding those guys down. Like you might as well get them working and you need that win. Yeah.
I just looked at that and I was like, interesting. Because Palencia, he really does. It seems like Counsell uses him very sparingly. So it's just one of those things where it's like, all right. But also, if that is the case about urgency, then all right. I don't care if you're up 7. This Brewer team is, was that Wednesday's game? No, I'm sorry, Tuesday's game. It was like 5-3. Cubs were kind of hanging around, missed some opportunities. All of a sudden, bam! Brewers got 9. It's like, okay, well, I guess this game's over. Time to play NCAA football 26.
Let's just get this team in a better shape.
Yeah,
let's just get this team in a better shape. Go do your thing, Jed.
Exactly. So that's a great transition. So, in the spirit of all the urgency talk, Vidal Brujan, finally out of Cubs fans' lives. That sounds kind of harsh, but he was really, really bad for the Cubs. Vidal Brujan DFA'd to make room for Moises Ballesteros, who we didn't even talk about. Just the stones on that kid, man. Bases loaded, 2 out. Freddie Peralta, who's absolutely nasty. Opposite, takes the pitch, goes with the pitch. Opposite field gap, bang, 3 runs. And at that point, I kind of felt like it was the Cubs game to lose. But also, if you watch Monday, Tuesday, you're kind of like, maybe we're not out of the woods yet. But yeah, shout out to Ballesteros because he was, I thought, awesome. Didn't really understand why he got pinch hit for with Turner in the game today. I realized it was a lefty on the mound, but at that point, just let the kid ride. But my opinion. And also another DFA, Chris Flexen, extra innings Superman, really, was DFA'd, and Gavin Hollowell was recalled. And again, like I just said, kind of like Hollowell. There's something there. I don't know what it is. I wouldn't trust him in a playoff game, but there's something there. I kind of like it.
Yep. Open up 2 spots in the 40-man.
Well, that's the thing. So with that said, let's get to updating the fine people of Setup Nation about the rumors. So we're going to kind of do this a little different today. We're not going to do a big deep dive B block. We're going to catch you up on rumors. And with tomorrow, again, we're going to do a trade deadline live special on YouTube only. So make sure you subscribe for that. And then Ty and I will do a deep dive episode on whatever moves they do or don't make. We'll do that later in the day. So we're not going to go in depth. We're just going to update you on what's going on at the moment. And then obviously tomorrow we'll get more into it. And we're not even going to preview the Baltimore series like we normally would because both teams might look dramatically different with Baltimore selling and the Cubs buying. We don't know what that's going to look like. We don't even know who's going to be pitching. Maybe it's Edward Cabrera. Maybe it's somebody else. We don't know. So we're going to skip that. But let's catch you up on all the rumors today. So According to multiple reports, the Cubs are trying to go big. They are trying to look for 2 starting pitchers, an impact reliever, and a bench bat that can kind of be a utility, but mostly play center field. But now we have some conflicting reports. Ken Rosenthal said he expects the Cubs to be one of, if not the most aggressive team tomorrow, or before the deadline, but mostly tomorrow. And then Jesse Rogers wrote an article today that was very informative, but he asked the question, what is considered all in? Which is a question, Ty, you and I have been trying to answer for 2 months on this show. But he compared this season to the 2016 season, being that if Gleyber Torres plus for Aroldis Chapman is a quote-unquote all in, then he believes the Cubs are quote-unquote mostly in. And that's not that surprising considering we've heard that they're not trading top prospects for rentals. So Owen Casey for Eugenio Suarez, not happening. We've already been told that multiple times. But the phrasing mostly in, Ty, the question of this episode is, isn't this the most important trade deadline since 2016? What is this mostly in garbage?
Yeah, I think where Jesse came from with the mostly in, maybe this is what he says in that actual article. Unfortunately, I have not been able to read that yet. Look, I think we have to look at the situation. This
Sure.
team is not a 2016 team.
No.
2016 was loaded. This team is multiple pieces away from being quote unquote a team that could go all in. So but I agree with the sentiment of that this is the most important based on a few factors. Number one is that Kyle Tucker is not signed yet. We do not know what's going to happen with him. He could end up being out of this lineup. If Kyle Tucker is out of this lineup is not good. And when he's not doing well, we've seen now what happens when he's not doing well. This team struggles a little bit to score runs. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is that, looking at this right now is that, and I felt like for me, this was the most important year because also too for Jed, but Jed got extended before the trade deadline. So that
You're right. We
shakes
haven't done
things up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that was something that we forgot to mention, but like Jed did get extended, right? So now it's for Jed, like for him, if he lose some of these players, now we're back to relying on some of these rookies next year, like an Owen Casey or maybe some other names you might be able to get in free agency. But again, it's not, you just don't have anything that makes me look at this organization after this year going, oh, we're just as loaded next year. Like I don't feel that way. And so look, this Jed has done a great job of building this farm system. I want to give him credit on that, right? You build a farm system to use those assets to get a greater asset. That's how it works with farm systems, right? Where Jed is caught up is now he has to figure out, am I wanting to use those assets for this year or am I wanting to use those assets to have sustainability for years to come? You can have both. You can have both, Jed, but there comes a point where I think he needs to put his foot down. So yes, to answer your question, I completely agree with you that this is the most important deadline since when the Cubs won the World Series in 2016, because this organization has been sort of in a downspill since, right when all the names were traded, and it felt that way as those years after the deadline. So to answer your question, I would agree. And it's solely based off of Kyle Tucker. Jed needs to make his stamp on this league and make a statement that the Cubs are actually buying in. And number three is that with this sort of goes into the Jed thing. This organization made the move for Kyle Tucker, right? The city felt what that move felt like when it happened. I remember the day. I remember when I just got off a flight and I literally am looking at my phone. I've 300 notifications of all these different people telling me, Kyle Tucker is now here, right? A significant move. You're talking about another step forward, right?
Yeah.
And he's been able to make, Theo and Jed have had, or Theo more had those moments back in 2017 and 2018 where he was able to make some moves. But this is the first deadline where I go, you have things available to make significant moves. You haven't had that chance. 2017, you didn't really have a whole lot to trade away. Same with 2018. That's why Chris Bryant, Javier Baez, Anthony Rizzo, all these guys that are just legends in Cubs uniform had to be traded away because we had to get assets to be able to use them to get what we needed in the future, right? So, yes, to answer your question, this is the most important year.
Yeah, I said on our Sunday show, this was the most important week for the Cubs this decade. And I stand by that just in terms of what they're going to be willing to give up. If they are able to pull off something like a Mackenzie Gore or a Joe Ryan, and maybe it's Justin Verlander's name came out today. If you tell me that you can somehow swing an Edward Cabrera and Justin Verlander trade, holy cow, does your rotation look different? And also, you brought up the 2021 trade deadline where they traded away all of these Cubs legends that I would imagine most, if not all of them, will get into the Cubs Hall of Fame. Do you want to revisit those trades quick? Because Cubs didn't get a whole lot outside of PCA. Chris Bryant, Alexander Canario now plays in Pittsburgh. Caleb Killian, he's in pro ball, I think, but he never made it here. Baez, PCA. Cool. That one worked. Rizzo, Alcantara, you might be able to move him, but there were reports today that people aren't super high on Alcantara. And I think they got another guy. I can't remember his name. Oh, they got Ben Cowles in a trade. I don't remember who that was for. They got Jack Neely in a trade. And I mean, they're fine. They're mid prospects. Sure, maybe Miami looks at someone like Ben Cowles, who's had a fantastic season in AAA, and it's like, oh, okay, we'll take a flyer on that guy. Because what do the Marlins have, really? But going into tomorrow, they have to do something of impact. If they just kind of stand pat and maybe get a reliever and whatever, some mid-start, Mike Soroka, and that's kind of it, that is a monumental failure, not only to the team, but I would say the fans in the city of Chicago, the whole city. Just because if you look at the sports landscape in Chicago, outside of the Bears that are kind of coming up, the Bulls, oof. The Blackhawks, oof.
Oof.
You have a chance right now.
The Sky?
Angel Reese.
Oof. Whatever. I have no idea if they're doing well.
I don't either. I know Angel Reese and Me Bounds was a thing for a while, but no, truthfully, you have a chance to take over the city, at least for the next couple months before the Bears start. I think that matters, especially for a team that's with ownership being so conscious about budget. I mean, look at the last time they had a deep playoff run, 2017. All the merch sales, and I know the breaking even, I don't want to even have that conversation, but this is a monumental, as of recording, 21 and a half hours? You have a chance to do something really special. Maybe you can pull off a trade for Suarez. John Morosi, as of 2 minutes ago, just tweeted that Eugenio Suarez suitors include Cubs, Mariners, and Tigers with less than 24 hours to go. I mean, yeah, they're in the race for a lot of these guys, but the problem is, if you get into a bidding war, how uncomfortable is Jed willing to get?
And that's what I was going to say as well, is that we've seen the returns already for some of these relievers.
Oh,
Jed is going to have to change his shirt 3 or 4 times in the next 24 hours because that dude's sweating through it, right? He's got the extension. He's feeling good. And all of a sudden, it's like you got college finals. You finish one, you feel good. And all of a sudden, you realize you got 2 to 3 more, right? It's uncomfortable for the situation for Jed because he feels as if probably that, I built this. And now I may have to see it crumble a little bit because maybe their projections say differently, right? Or say otherwise that they'll win the division, right? There's all these little factors inside the organization right now that, of course, all fans think we need these players, which rightfully so they do. We need some really, really good additions because you look at some of these bullpens now with the Mets, for example, are loaded. And the Brewers, of course, are obviously their bullpens are loaded as well. So it's
the Phillies, they just got Durant. So Durant
and excuse me, yeah.
Oh my God.
And I forgot to mention the Phillies. So it's the lineup is good. Like, I want to be a little positive here. The lineup is good. What can we do to make it great? And I don't think it requires all that much based on the circumstances, right? Because you're not going to get rid of Swanson. You're not going to get rid of Hap unless they do something crazy with a little bit of a cease deal, right? Where you're talking about a big leaguer to big leaguer trade.
Well, and Hap has a no trade as well. So that makes it
true.
tough.
Thank you for saying that. So it's like really the only position right now that you can truly upgrade is third base. No offense to Matt Shaw. He's been fantastic, everyone. I've been a Matt Shaw supporter since day one. I said that he should have been set down before he's had a great stretch here. Was I wrong? Absolutely. But, Alex, one word answer here because I know we're going along. Is this a better team with Eugenio Suarez or Matt Shaw at third base?
Well, Suarez is an MVP candidate.
Okay, so that answers our question, right? So it's if this is the most important year, which I think every Cub fan would say that. Eugenio Suarez is a better option at third base than Matt Shaw, and I believe that you do not have to give everything in the system for him. Now, if another team does, then that's it, right? Sure. But the Cubs have some very good prospects, and I think that they have earned the opportunity to get a seat at the table for this deal. So, again, I want to hear, folks. Make sure you like this video and comment below on just where you want to see the Cubs make moves here over the next 21 and a half hours. We'll try to get this video posted probably with 20 hours before, but let's hear you in the comments, guys, and please shoot us a like. We're trying to take this all in because we're probably just like everyone that's listening to this show. You're checking your phone a lot. You're seeing what's going on. Where are the Cubs going? What are the rumors? I'm not going to lie. Can't wait till the rumor mill is over.
Oh, same here.
A couple months break before the free agency. So,
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I know we had a comment that wasn't super nice in our comment section. It was like, all you guys do is talk trade. That's because that's the news, man. And trust me, Ty and I are real sick of talking about it. And this week, we thought for sure by the time we hit record today, we'd at least have one move to talk about. And it's just nothing's really happened. But the market is starting to move. Jaron Duran. That's the wrong guy. Johan Duran, the closer, not the left fielder for the Red Sox, he got moved. Ryan Helsley went to the Mets, who the Mets have a shockingly good bullpen now. So they're going to be scary come October. There's moving pieces now, but I do think, like we talked about, these prices are astronomically high. And some teams like the Mets, we don't care. What do we care? We just signed Soto for $1 billion. What do we care? The Phillies, Dave Dombrowski runs them. He is notorious for being ultra aggressive. The Padres are linked to a bunch of guys. They're ultra aggressive all the time. So it's just, Jed, how uncomfortable and how special do you think this team could be? Because Suarez got hit in the hand, but he hit a double today and flew out deep to left. It's just, you have to make those decisions, and we should find out here pretty quick. But we are going to keep this episode just a little bit shorter just because lots of content coming tomorrow. So if you want to join in on the fun, well, there's a way you do that. You hit that subscribe button, you hit that like button, and hit that little bell. So when we go live tomorrow at 4 o'clock Central Time, taking you into the end of the deadline, you'll be able to join us, laugh along with us. Producer Brian will be on the show. Kyle will be on that show. It should be a lot of fun and hopefully a lot of stuff to talk about. And within the next, let's call it 3 hours, if there is something that breaks, if the Cubs do pull off a big move, not some AA pitcher no one's ever heard of, we'll have an emergency live reaction episode for that. But until then, I don't know when I'll see you. Hopefully there's an emergency podcast. But if not, tomorrow, 4 o'clock on YouTube, live, Kyle, producer Brian, and myself will be doing a trade deadline reaction. Ty and I will be back tomorrow, trade deadline reaction. Hopefully we have a lot to discuss. But until then, strap in, folks. It's going to be a very stressful 20 hours or so. So hopefully Jed can work his magic. Ty, thank you for joining me, buddy. We'll see you tomorrow. Ryan, we love you. Say hi to Harry, Ernie, Ronnie for us. And we will see y'all tomorrow. Let's make a deal.